I'd like to call this meeting to order for the Board of Supervisors of Elections on Thursday, March 20th, 2025, and it is now 7:03 p.m. We'll do the roll call. Debbie Yatzik,
Here.
Liam Mercer,
Here.
myself, Eileen Leahy. We also have Ashley Leonard from the Office of Law, City Clerk Regina Watkins Eldridge, and then also our elections assistant, Teresa Buccalow. Okay, any public comments submitted for tonight? No? Okay. All right, let's go to approval for the minutes for February 20th, 2025. Debbie,
So move
any comments?
no.
No comments.
Yeah.
No comments. Okay. Can't, oh, hold on one second. I lost everybody. Whoops. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to, there I go. All right, can I have a motion to approve the minutes then?
Yeah, I move that we approve the February 20th, 2025 minutes.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so moved. All right, Regina, any updates?
I just wanted to let you guys know everything is going well in the office. We've had a lot of traffic, Lots of certificate of candidacies have been going out, and we've been handling it along with handling getting ready for the city's budget, having our liquor licenses for the city renewals process starting, and it was one more thing. I forgot what it was. Doing our regular jobs, the ones that we don't do in election season. So we just wanted to let you know that we are there. If we do not answer your phone call, please send us an email. We're not avoiding you. We just can't, we're not in the office. We're an office of 4 now, and with the budget starting, there are additional meetings that we have to attend. So the best way to get in touch with us is either to send a text to my phone or to send an email.
Okay, sounds
and
good.
That's it.
All right, well, thanks for all you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, new business. Our first certificate of candidacy tonight is for Alderwoman, and it's submitted by Deborah J. Odom for Ward 3. Any comments about the certificate?
No.
No comments.
No comments.
Okay. All right, so it looked all right with you, both of you?
Yes.
Okay, fine to me. So we have a motion to approve the certificate of candidacy for Alderwomen completed by Deborah J. Odom for Ward 3.
Motion to approve the certificate of candidacy for Deborah J. Odom for Ward 3.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the second certificate of candidacy is submitted for Alderman Ward 5 by Brooks Chandelmeyer. Any comments, questions?
I have one.
Okay.
So I noticed that he and his treasurer signed the that last paragraph about declaring that they do not intend to receive contributions or make expenditures of 100 or more, and this excludes them from having to file any reports unless that changes. So then I looked at all the others because that caught my eye, that he doesn't expect to take in or spend more than $100. And I do see confusion on that. Some of them were totally blank, which it should be, it could be. Others, oftentimes one or both signed it and then crossed it out. So people tend to look at the end of a document and it says treasurer signature, candidate signature. So they go ahead and sign it thinking they need to, but that's a big deal. That's a a big commitment. So I see a lot of them have crossed it out or initialed it and scribbled it out. Some just have one, like the treasurer has signed it, but not the candidate. But anyway, I guess that they know what they're signing, right? Brooks,
Well, I think,
he's done
well,
this.
go ahead, Teresa.
Eileen, those X's, he certainly does understand the actions that he was doing, and his X's are intended to explain that that was done in error, and so he thought he was signing and Xing to rescind that signature.
Right, I'm just pulling it up now, but was
So we
there,
have a lot of different ways then. So an X means a cancellation.
In his mind, I suppose it did. I didn't challenge that.
Because others, they crossed it out or yeah, go ahead.
okay, Regina?
Let me just say, we made them aware of the section when they sign their certificate of candidacy. If they turn it in, like say if they put it in a Dropbox and send it to us, we did review it and call him, and then he came in and put an X by because he did not intend to do that. When we do it with other people, some people just strike through it because they're just going through and signing everywhere that the treasurer and the candidate needs to sign. So he did intend for it not to be signed. That's what the X's were for. We don't have any procedure that says you have to put an X or you have to strike through it or anything like that. They just have to acknowledge that they will be raising money. So if they put an X, we accepted it in that section, or if they just drew a line through it, that was acceptable also.
So I guess here's the nurse Leahy coming through. Whenever you X something out, you date it, you sign it, and you might have to give an explanation.
Well,
I think we've done that before for some of the past. I think there was something on another candidate earlier this year. So I hear what you're saying. I'm a little uncomfortable with just putting an X, and we're supposed to understand what that means, especially,
I am too.
if these are publicly accessible. I don't think most people would understand what that meant.
Well, we keep the list of people who need to turn in the campaign fund report. So we are aware that he needs to submit one because he already has a current campaign fund report that's open that has funds in it.
I understand that, but just looking at this certificate, I mean, Ashley, what's your thoughts?
So from a legal perspective, I'd be more concerned. I mean, I do get what you're saying. I'm wondering, what would the procedure be if they had originally signed that and thought they weren't going to raise any money, and then they got a month or two down the road and they started raising that much money? Would we have them redo the form, or do we have them just submit something in writing that they have now raised?
The code says that once they raise $300, they have to submit. So that's part of that section. So even if they
so
signed
like
it,
automatic.
they didn't have a penny. Yeah.
I mean, I guess my thought is, moving forward, I do think we should probably have some procedure for consistency for if they make a mistake on the form. I think in these cases, you probably could we get something writing from them indicating that they. Honestly, I'd be more concerned about it if they were supposed to sign it and didn't versus the reversed scenario. So
I agree.
So I guess I'm not as worried about this because they're going to submit their stuff versus they're not really trying to hold to the fact that they're not supposed to be submitting stuff. I guess could we approve it tonight upon the condition that he strikes through it and initials it? Like tomorrow?
Mm-hmm. Debbie, Liam, your thoughts?
Or do we need to have it updated tonight? And then I guess we do need to come up with a procedure for how we want to correct errors, I guess.
Can I just say we're really trying to be a business friendly office, and I feel like it's really an inconvenience to call someone away from their job to come to the office just to put a strike through on a line.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Maybe we could accept like a written email or something that says.
Yeah, we can ask them for an email, but to come to the office just to strike through something they already signed. I just don't feel like that's necessary, but I'm not on the board, but I thought it was acceptable and I approved it per that when I signed off on the certificate of candidacy. But it's ultimately up to you guys.
Well, we could alternately, if you wanted to just make the statements that you've made, Regina, saying that it was explained to him at the time and it was his intent when he did it, that might also be acceptable.
That's what I'm saying. And like Debbie said, it was on at least 2 other ones and they struck through it.
Right.
And you guys approved those. So
But there's 2 different options. One is to ask him to come, actually 3 options. One's to ask him to come in. One is to ask him to write an email explaining it. And one would be just for you to verify what transcribed. So I'm kind of putting back to Debbie and Liam, their thoughts on what any of those options or none of them.
I think I'm most pro an email acknowledgement option. And then moving forward, just so everyone's on the same page, we can a strike through must cross through the signature rather than just an X at the side, and we're all on the same page moving forward.
Yeah. I agree. I understood all the other ones. And going back, we probably need to clean that up and change it if so many people are making mistakes. There was only like 2 that were blank. Everybody else had 1 or 2 signatures that were crossed out, but I understood the cross out ones and usually there was an initial or something. So, but I really did not understand the X. Like I missed that completely. So and he's a returning, he's not even new, so he should know what this form is about. And he even made a mistake. So, for now, I'm fine with like even Regina, if you cross it out, I'd rather have it not just an X so that people who do look, because this makes a difference. I mean, this is my ward, and if he's planning on running that way, that's totally different than running another way, where you're going to do a full-blown campaign. So just so that it's clear to anybody who needs to know or wants to know. And I think a cross out is better, but going forward, we should probably clean it up because people are messing up with how it's presented now.
Okay. Well, how about then for now, if there's a motion, if I'm hearing us correctly, and I'm in agreement with you, Debbie and Liam.
Nobody made a motion yet.
I'm asking for a motion.
Oh, okay. I'm saying that no one made one.
Right. Well, we need a motion, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if I'm hearing correctly, we're looking for a motion that will ask Alderman Schandelmeyer to email the city clerk's office clarifying that he signed, that area in error and that he does not plan, that he does plan to raise money. Does that sound?
Right. And then will that change how it looks if somebody looks at his certificate? I'd almost rather have it.
I think my
physically.
thinking behind it is that there's a physical evidence, of that. There's a paper trail if there's an email that's been sent.
You could have him give permission in the email to have the city clerk strike through.
Okay.
Like that.
So you could have in the email say that he signed it in mistake and he hereby gives the city clerk permission to cross through his signature on the form.
I like
Okay.
that.
Are you comfortable with that, Regina?
Yes.
All right, so come up with a motion.
Okay, I move that we accept the certificate of candidacy of Brooks Schandelmeyer with the stipulation that he send an email to the city clerk noting that it was an error that he and his treasurer declared that they were not going to raise or spend more than $100 was an error, and gives her permission to slash through those signatures.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so moved. All right.
Thank you, Regina. Thanks, Ashley.
All right, next item on the agenda is, we received the provisional ballot application form from the Anne Arundel County Board of Elections. David Garris, the director, asked us to review it and to decide if they could use those. They have what, about 4,200, I think it was.
46.
How many?
46.
4,600 of them, which is enough to not necessarily need a reprinting. So hopefully we can either accept the ones that's there. I didn't see it. I didn't see any reason for changing. I didn't see any updates. So we can either just go ahead and give them permission to use the ones that they already have printed from 2021, or if we want to make changes, we need to let them know.
To clarify, this is what we talked about last meeting, and there was a question about whether it should say voting precinct or ward, and I think that was clarified by Regina. Am I on the
Right.
Yes.
correct?
Yeah. That was the envelope in the mailer on provisional ballots.
Okay, so this is something else?
He was talking about that you wanted to strike precinct and just leave ward, but each ward has 2 precincts. Like, for example, you have Ward 1, Precinct 1 and 11.
Right.
And yeah, throughout the city, it would be 2 and 12 for the precinct, or 3 and 13, and 4 and 14.
So the issue from last month was taken care of. So that was kept as precinct. So that was okay. That was the envelope and
Yes.
the I can't remember the other piece. So this is different. This is actually the procedures that one follows in terms of filing a provisional ballot.
Oh, okay.
I don't see any problems. I don't know if I'll go with how you all had it, if it worked well in 2021.
Right. And we haven't changed any of the city code in regards to provisional ballots. So.
Cool. Sounds good to me.
I'm all for using up supplies that we have on hand already.
Yeah, I mean, I think unless we have a substantial change, we can just go ahead and use what we have.
Save some trees.
Right.
So are you ready for a motion?
Yes, please.
Motion to approve the instructions for submitting a provisional ballot.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so moved. Okay, moving on to the next part. It's canvassing documents for Anne Arundel County from the Board of Elections, a request for review. This looks like an updated version of really how the canvas is handled, and into a lot more detail than, to some degree, than what we've done in the past. But if you haven't been to a canvas, reading this gives you a good idea of it. So in the past, we've pretty much followed this type of format, and also quite a bit of it is actually read out at the beginning of the canvas. So I don't know if anybody, did you all have a chance to look at it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Again, if you've done this process a number of times, and if it's what was done in 2021 and we haven't changed it otherwise.
Yeah, I didn't see anything in there that was varied from our code. I don't know, Ashley, if you had a chance to look at it, or.
I did look at it briefly. I don't think we've changed anything that would not allow us to use these, I guess.
Right.
I agree with Ashley.
Okay, I was just going to ask you, Regina.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think what I was reading of it was just some more clarification. And it's pretty much what we've done before, so, okay. So I guess we need a motion just to approve approve them.
What's it called?
It's just canvassing documents submitted. I don't know what the
Okay.
actual,
I move that we accept the canvassing procedure documents as presented.
Second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so moved. Just a comment in regards to canvassing, since we've kind of gone start, stop with making changes to the, oh, I'm sorry, Regina, you have a question? Oh. As I said, kind of a start and a stop in terms of the canvassing. And some of the question had been if we needed to change our code in regards to currently it says that we don't open ballots before the close of the polls. There's also been a discrepancy in terms of when the canvass meets. In one place, we do have where it starts the day after election, and then there's also the Tuesday after the election. I did talk with David after consultation with Regina and Ashley. He said they'll do whatever we want. At this point, though, he doesn't feel like we have to change. He said that now that they've had quite a bit of experience with counting the ballots, considering how many ballots we would probably have in terms of mail-in, they could be done in a day. If we wanted to go compliant with the state, which is what I personally thought they wanted us to do, we could do that, but he didn't feel at this time it's necessary. However, the way our code's written that we start the day after election day, even though we haven't done it that way, he would prefer not to do that because on election day, most of us aren't going to be getting done until 11 o'clock at night, and his staff
Right.
isn't going to be. So we could do it. I mean, he's all very accommodating, saying if you want to keep it that way, we can do it. What he said they could do is count the mail-in ballots that Thursday, if we wanted to do it the Thursday after the election, and then we'd still meet the Tuesday after the election because that's when the provisional ballots are counted, and that's when any mail-in ballots that came in that were postmarked by election day would also be counted. The other option is just to do everything the Tuesday after. So it does involve, managing that day, how we want to handle that day after the election component in our code. My thought was, and this is to Ashley and Regina, is there a way that we don't have to do it, or can we just briefly convene and then adjourn? So I don't know what your thoughts are.
Well, I tend to follow David because he makes life easier for everybody. If he says that we really don't need to do it, I just think that they've been doing it for such a long time that they can handle it. And we don't have half the amount of ballots that they have when they have their elections. So I don't think it's a big deal.
Well, how should we handle the code that says the Board of Canvassers convenes the day after Election Day?
Well, you guys can sign your oath that day. Convenes
Well,
means you took convene as the Board of Canvassers means that is you're finished being the Board of Elections people and you're ready to start your canvass. You could do that the next day in the morning. Just all you had to do is sign your oath. Would that be correct, Ashley? Yeah. Once you sign your oath, you're the Board of Canvassers until the canvass is finished.
Okay, so we'd have to do that in person?
Yeah.
Up there in Glen Burnie?
Not necessarily in Glen Burnie because you wouldn't have to be there that day. You could come to our office and sign your oath.
I thought when we did the canvas, I guess
you can sign. You just have to be the Board of Canvassers by the time you open your ballots to canvass your election. So if the day after the election, you don't need to be the Board of Elections officially anymore because the Board of Canvassers kind of has the same responsibilities as you guys in your current position as Board of Elections members. Canvassers can still make decisions.
Okay. And then would we plan to meet that Thursday, the next day, to get ballots started, or do we just wait until the following Tuesday?
I would say you're the board of canvassers once you sign the oath. So if Les Ashley sees it differently, I don't see why that would be an issue.
Right, it's just giving the county the go-ahead to actually start counting that Thursday. Do we want to actually start counting Thursday, or do we want to wait and do it all on Tuesday and possibly that Wednesday?
Yeah, that's your decision.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
Debbie,
so we have to wrap up by 1 week after election day, the following Tuesday.
well,
Typically,
typically, yes. I mean, if we have to go on and continue votes, you can continue, but the way it reads, in one section of the code, it says we meet the day after election day. In the other part of the code, we meet the Tuesday after the election. And so that's what we've been following in the past. We haven't met the day after the election in reality or in the past. So it's just a conflict that we've really just.
you could schedule a meeting on the day after the election, and the meeting is just for the purpose of you guys taking your oath and signing your oath form to become the board of canvassers.
Right. Right. So
Well,
that's what, go ahead. That's one issue, but the other issue is when do we actually meet to start counting ballots? So Debbie?
Yeah. I mean, everyone wants the vote count as soon as possible, but we're not going to have all the votes until the Tuesday after, right? Given the mail and provisionals. You know, I mean, if we could get it all done on Thursday, I'd like to do it the soonest that we'd have a complete count. But if we do need to wait a few more days to make sure all the eligible votes have been vetted and in, then I think we could do it in one day, given the amount that we get, and do it on the Tuesday if we're not going to have them all on the Thursday. What have you done in the past? You've done
Well-
one day in the past, right, Eileen?
No, we've done a couple of days. Last time we did a couple of days. So what David was saying we could do is, and to fit it in with what Regina's proposing, is we could meet, say, Wednesday morning. I don't think we want to hang out until 12:01 on election day, but meet at some point on Wednesday, become the Board of Canvassers. We could then Thursday meet up at the Board of Elections for the count and say to the county, start counting all the mail-in ballots. So what they would do that day is get all the mail-in ballots that they have up to that point, which they'll be able then to add to the ones from election day, which would give a clear, idea of where everybody stands. We would still need to meet the Tuesday after, because that's when the provisional ballots are counted, and any of the other ones that come in after election day that have been postmarked correctly. So that's where we are. We could do Wednesday, Thursday, and the following Tuesday. If we don't do it that way, we could still come in that Wednesday, become the Board of Canvassers. We could wait until the following Tuesday and do all of it then. But if we don't get it all done, we would go into Wednesday.
Yeah, I think as much as it's annoying to potentially have to go an extra day up to Anne Arundel or up to the election offices, it does seem to make sense that if there's any issues, we have more time to deal with them, and that we don't delay ourselves beyond, then we don't put ourselves in a position where we might have to go beyond the following Tuesday.
Yeah, I'd rather make sure that we finish it on Tuesday. So a Thursday and Tuesday could work.
Okay. And if we do it that way, then we don't need to really make any changes to code, and David was comfortable with that. So if I'm hearing correctly, Wednesday we will meet to become the canvassers. Thursday
Or
we will.
Can we just become the canvassers on Thursday?
The code says we convene on the day after election day.
Yeah, but you haven't. And you haven't gotten, you haven't gotten fired, even though you wouldn't mind.
We skirted an issue, so
Yeah.
I think
I guess we need to
Regina's
change-
option is
we should
pretty
change
simple.
that.
If we could just get into City
All
Hall
right.
at, at a certain time, do in and out. I'll bring Carson's donuts. And then
You might want to save them for Thursday.
There are plenty of donuts at the county building when you go up there for your canvas.
We
and
will be
pizza.
well fed. Don't worry about
Yes.
that.
You will not be hungry.
And then for Tuesday, we do the provisionals and any of the others. Okay. Are you okay with that, Ashley? That plan? Okay.
Yep, that's good.
All right. So I'm looking for a motion to say on Wednesday after the day after the election, we will meet and form the Board of Canvassers. And then Thursday, we will plan to meet to begin counting ballots. And then we'll continue on Tuesday to address the remaining ballots.
Motion to convene on the Wednesday after the election to become the Board of Canvassers, and then meet again on that Thursday and then the following Tuesday to serve our duties as the Board of Canvassers.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. So Liam, you're the working guy in the committee, so you let us know what's convenient for you on that Wednesday, and also for you, Regina.
So
we'll
what's
be at
that
work all
date,
day.
November 5th?
Yeah, and this is for both the primary and the general, so.
So we have to
Oh,
do
yeah.
we have this plan twice, right? We're gonna
Yes.
do it. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just meet at 9. Can we meet at 8:45 a.m.? Is that okay?
Does that work for you, Regina?
Yes.
All right, and we can revisit that too as we get closer. Okay. Regina, do you want to communicate that to David, or do you want me to give him a call?
You can call him.
Okay. All right. Okay, all right, moving along.
On the calendar.
Okay. All right, the campaign fund report that never wants to completely come alive. I do have a question in this regard real quick, just to help us in terms of looking at this. We have approved already the summary sheet and the schedules. So they've already been approved, but the summary sheet does need to have some changes. So if we approve the summary sheet for the instructions, does that actually need an approval from the board? Or can we just discuss it tonight and make some changes and then send out a final draft later?
If you have previously approved it in a meeting, you probably need to label that document you're going to change as amended and make the changes.
Okay, well, that's for the summary sheet, so we could do
Right.
that, but I'm wondering about the instructions. Is the instructions something that's just procedural? Does that need a vote, or can it just be considered procedure?
I think it could be considered procedural.
Okay, so we could review some of it tonight, but if someone has additional comments before we make it final, we can insert them without having to meet. I guess that's what I'm thinking. Because I want to make sure to get your input and also Teresa's input too.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
I think that's what we've done before when we've amended
Yeah.
everything. We've done it before, and I don't recall having. Okay.
Okay, I think that's fine.
Okay. So in a, which I think when we looked at these the last month, in actually doing the instructions, I realized that the summary sheet needed to have some changes made to it. And so Alexis did put in a couple of things that we talked about, and I'm looking at the summary sheet now.
Mhm.
So we included the filing type, which is initial, amended, and final for them to circle. There's no instruction there, so I could add circle 1. And then I was checking the codes and the columns, I'm saying. So the columns on this sheet, if you look at number 3, loans from Schedule 2, it should say column 6. And the other columns are okay, but one of my questions was, do we actually need to put in the columns if we want to make it even a little simpler? But we could also just not change it too much. And then the other things that were done was they took out the lines that showed since we rearranged some of this, some of the lines came out, and there is a line that's missing next to disbursements. So that needs to be put back in.
On what report? What schedule?
That's under disbursements and transfers.
Okay. Disbursements, okay, and our total from Schedule 3, column 7.
So basically it is under filing type would add circle 1 in some parentheses. Under line 3, it would make column 4, it would change it to number 6. And then under disbursements and transfer, it would add transfers. It would add an S to the transfer and it would add a line. It doesn't have a column there. We could add a column if people felt we needed to have a column. And that column would be 1, 2, 3, 4, number 7.
Proceeds from Schedule 2.
I think, I'm not sure if we have the summary sheet, or I'm not sure if I have it. I see all the schedules 1 through 5. Was
I
it in
think
a
I
different
sent
email?
it out.
The day before, maybe?
Okay.
It came from Eileen.
I think it should have come with the instructions.
Yeah.
Which I sent earlier. It was the first one I sent this morning.
I have that one.
Double check.
Yeah, so Teresa sent out the schedules and Eileen sent out the summary sheet and instructions.
Weird, I think I just have the instruction sheet, but
Let's see. I sent it at 12 o'clock. It should say edits to campaign report 3/20/25.
okay. Yes, I have that. This is the instructions, right?
Right. So
And
after the instructions, it should have the summary sheet. The schedule's
Oh,
in
if you
that
scroll down, I'm
attachment.
sorry. I thought it was a separate document.
Yeah,
My
no, I'm sorry, it isn't.
Okay, I see it now.
Okay.
so on the where you said, you know how candidates have to note or mark on the summary sheet if it's their final, if it's
Mhm.
the final report.
Right.
And we did have the 3 boxes, one for the first one for an amended one, and one for a final one. And that was our most recent until yours came out, Eileen, and I don't see those boxes anymore.
For some reason, they're just listed. They can go back to being boxes if you want. It's up there. It says filing
Oh,
type.
yeah,
and
yeah,
file.
that's not gonna, the way it is, it either needs to be boxes or a little line next to it where people know to check it or something.
Yeah, we
Or
could
like you
circle
said,
one.
to circle it.
I mean, if you want boxes, I can ask her to do boxes.
Boxes might take up more room. I don't know if she was trying to just, get it on one line.
I could also just have her put in parentheses, circle one.
Yeah. Do you think they might miss it if they don't, if it doesn't stand out?
I think so. I mean, we've been looking at these forms for a while, not these particular forms, but people miss this all the time. I think circle one is fine. I like the idea of having lines next to them, each one to check, although then you have to make sure that you know that it applies to which one applies to which. There, I don't want to be just prescriptive on exactly how this has to happen, but it doesn't seem like in its current form it's the best
Okay.
option.
We could also move it to its own line. Then put it in bold if you're concerned about people missing it.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Put it below the report period.
Okay.
There's space on that form, right? Yeah.
Yeah, there's space. There's much more space now. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I can ask that to be done. Any other comments?
Not for me.
Okay. We
Great.
could go ahead and approve it with these changes and then I'll send it out later. Or Ashley, should we just wait and do something via email for approval of the form?
No, I'd approve it now and say, yeah, because we need to get it up and rolling. So I would approve it now and say that you authorize the city clerk to make any final administrative typo type changes or something like that.
Okay. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay. Are you okay with it, Liam?
Yes. Motion to approve the summary of the campaign funds report, summary of receipts and disbursement, with the changes discussed on this call.
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Okay, all right. Okay, so got the schedules done. So if this is going to be considered procedural, we can do one of two things. And it's up to you. We can go through it together now, or would you all prefer to do it your own and get the comments to me and then we can consolidate them. Would that be okay to do, Regina?
Sure.
We're talking now about each of the schedules
The instructions,
or the instructions.
right?
Okay.
I mean, I have a couple of small changes to make, but I think it's helpful just for you all to try to finish it yourself, if that makes sense. Because I found a couple of things doing it myself.
Gotcha.
we don't have to get them ready. I mean, just do them now and have them ready. Is it
Yeah, we
too?
can do it now and then send it out again and get this going. Does that work for you, Regina?
Sure.
Do you have it? Would you prefer we do it differently?
No, no. It's fine.
Okay, all right. Do you want me to go through what I've got, or do you all have something you want to go through if you've
Why
reviewed
don't
it?
you start?
Okay, well, some of it's just formatting.
Yeah.
which can be changed in terms of some bold. Name of, and what I try to do with this is just try to simplify it a bit too. So it's the name of the candidate or the committee, the office held, and what ward it is. Financial institution, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Campaign report is in there. The filing type, one thought I had was, would it be beneficial here to put in, to actually put the definition of what initial, amended, and final is? Or at least a link to the code. Do you think that would be beneficial, or just keep it simple?
They should understand. I think it's understandable, initial, amended, and final.
Okay. Are you okay with that, Liam?
Yes.
Okay. And then I did add the link for surplus funds in there. That language is pretty much the same. Late fees begin the day after the due date. Cash balance starts with that, the same. Contributions and receipts is what's on the summary, so I would just add contributions and receipts from Schedule 1. So I would just add that to that piece. And then it should be column, I did check, it is column 7. The next is loans, the proceeds from Schedule 2, and that should be changed to 6.
6, yeah.
Then 4 is the total cash available, add lines 1, 2, and 3. That's the same. Disbursements and transfers, and that would be column 7. The cash balance is the same. Outstanding obligations from Schedule 4, it should be column 4. And in-kind contributions from Schedule 5 should also be column 4.
Four and 4. Okay.
Any comments on that first page? Okay. Now on the second,
One comment, just
oh,
that-
sure.
and maybe you might have alluded to this when you were talking about the formatting, but there might be like the filing type and the campaign report period are not bold, and those are kind of separate sections that probably, if you bold them, then they're identified as kind of separate sections or a separate instruction.
I'm sorry, which part is it?
You have the top, towards the top, where you have the name, like each item that we're giving an instruction to is bold. And then you get to the campaign report period, and that's not bold font.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's part of the formatting. There's a couple of them that are bold.
Agree.
Okay. Then on the second page, I included the definition of the Schedule 1, partly because we've had some questions about what it is. I didn't do that for every single one of them. So I don't know if you have thoughts, if you think it's appropriate to put a definition in there, and if that one by itself is okay, or if you think I should put in definitions for each one of them.
So thinking of confusion or questions that we've had from treasurers or candidates in the past, that's what, we would need to clarify. And it seems from the, it seems like people had confusion about, a loan, or, like who you're the loan and transfer. What's a loan and what's a transfer especially when you're going, campaign to campaign. And we cleared that up, right? Because didn't
Right, it
we
used to
add
be that
on the schedule?
Right, they could do it in 2 different places,
Right.
and now they can only do it in one.
So we've cleaned it up on the schedule. Are you asking if we should do more on the instruction page?
Right, I was just saying this, I put in the definition for Schedule 1. I can
I
also put
see.
in
Yeah.
the definition of loans under that. I did include the the definition of expenditure. We don't, and I'm sorry I did this so long ago. I don't think we actually have a definition for disbursement. We have one for expenditures, and I believe there's one for transfers that I didn't include there. So I can put in the definitions for all of the headings if you think that's helpful. If you don't think it's helpful, we can either do all of them, none of them, or just the first one.
Wouldn't hurt to do all of them.
Liam, you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, so I can do that. Okay. So I'll include that. Okay, so moving down to the columns, and this is for Schedule 1. Let me get my right schedule. So you have the date received, the complete name and residence address of the payer, which has been what we've had, the code. These are the codes that have been included. Included in there to remind people if the code is used, a description is required. I think the rest of it's okay. Aggregate, that's a format that needs to be moved over. I'm just getting a note that looks like Regina lost power at her house.
Oh, no.
Let me just get back to her and let her know. Okay, so she'll check in if she can. All right, I think these are all somewhat explanatory. 7 and 8. Any questions about? And I just went through each one. And
Mhm.
Schedule 2 is loans. So I'll add the definition there. I did put in a notice saying that of the change that loans, that this is just for loans and transfers are now to be seen in Schedule 1. Okay.
There's 2 5s under columns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6. Aggregate,
Is a 6. It needs to be moved over.
no, but if you go down to Schedule 2 loans, I
Okay.
saw what you just said, but if you go down to Schedule 2, aggregate received from payer to date,
Oh, I see it.
is that in the wrong spot? That's a that's a repeat of the one above.
All right, list debt. Okay, so we're on loans.
Yes.
Date received, complete name, description of loan, enter payment, aggregate amount is number 5. Number 6 is the amount of the loan. And 7 is indicative that it's attached, so it just needs to be renumbered from what I can see.
But is that aggregate the exact same wording as the one above? I'm just wondering if that's just a mistake to even have it in there. Or is that what we say for loans? Aggregate received, if the prior funds have been received, record the total amounts received. Because we're talking about loans and it sounds like it's just
They can't
repeating.
loan more than $1,000 for an alderman or 5,000 for mayor. So if they did like a loan a couple of months ago for 500 and now they're doing 250, they have to put in that the loan is now 750.
So it applies to both contributions and loans.
Correct.
Okay. So that just needs to be renumbered then and moved over.
Okay. Got it. All right, too many papers.
So it goes to number 8 then, actually, right? Yeah.
Okay. And actually, number 8, the column on that one should be 6. Enter amount in column 6 at bottom of page.
It would be great if we could get that number 8 on the same page
Okay,
with number 7
okay.
instead of at the top of a new page.
All right, so moving on to Schedule 3, that's the disbursements and transfers. I think before we had considered changing disbursements to expenditures and decided not to. So I've just included the expenditures and then I can add the definitions. Because disbursement is in the definition of expenditure, so. Okay. And then it's just going through completing the header, going through the columns. Get the right schedule. So the date, the payee, the code, the description, and then I've added some of the descriptions that we've discussed in the past. And they're mostly just doing some additional clarification. And then there's 5 is method of payment, transfers, the amount, and then the total on the page. Okay, moving on this. Any comments on that one?
No comments.
Looks good.
Okay, Schedule 4, outstanding obligations as of end of report. Again, just all debit. So that's kind of a definition. I'll make sure that we have the correct definition in there. Complete the header, then complete name and residence, description of the debt, date the debt incurred, amount outstanding, and the original terms of the agreement. And then 2, 3, 4, and then the total from, actually, it should be number 4. It's where the outstanding amount is. Okay. Anything else on that one?
No.
Okay, number 5 is in-kind contributions. We'll include a definition. Complete the header. Then enter the date received, name and address of contributor, distributor, description of a contribution, the aggregate, and the fair market value. And then number 6 is total 5 and record at the bottom of the page. Now, I forgot to insert it here, but I think when we last mentioned the last instruction in terms of how to actually file this, I'll add it with the next draft that I sent to you. On the annual financial disclosure statement, where they have a fillable form now, what they have is fill-inable forms are available. Then there's the link under, and I would just put in what we have for here. And it says this form can be completed online, saved to your computer, and printed. The printed copy of your statement must be signed and then mailed or delivered to the city clerk's office. Blah, blah, blah. And then it just has the link. So that would basically just be the explanation, because we kind of wrestled with that a little bit in the past. And that seems to be consistent with what they do. And then keep it simple. So I will add that. Any other comments?
Yeah, just the formatting. There's a little $sign under Schedule 4 after the very last line of Schedule 4 instructions.
Mhm.
Total column 5 and record at bottom of page. There's a little dollar sign in front of it.
Yeah, I'll check that.
Yeah,
I
so
just need
there's
to
just
take a course on editing.
no.
My secretary.
I'll prove it when it's
Well, that would be great.
your final. I catch I don't know, I notice all that stuff.
All right. Any other
I
comments?
inherited it from my mom.
Again, I apologize for the dragging this out, but I will get this to everybody at the beginning of next week, if not Monday. And hopefully Regina and Teresa can take a look at it and see if it fits, and we'll go from there. But at least we've got the summaries. I'll get those to Alexis tomorrow to make the changes on the summary sheet. Okay.
So, well, thank you, Eileen.
Well, thank you for patience. Been a crazy few weeks for me.
Aw.
So all good, but
Yeah, is
okay.
your family good? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Any other, get back to the agenda. We have more business. Okay, under discussion, I do have, just wanted an update. At the work session last month with the city, I incorrectly quoted the pay scale for the election judges. So I thought that we were doing the same as what the county does, and we didn't. So that was pointed out to me. So the election judge information and the pay scale is on our website. And it's there. There's no retention, but retention bonus being given, which was never intended anyway. But I did want to let you know. Mitchell has been working also on a budget for the voter education communication plan, and that's been submitted. And so she's comfortable with the amount that's been put forth. So we'll wait and see if that gets approved. And then just as an aside, there's not too much. We'll let you know. There is an emergency bill in the state legislature, it's SB 0088. Which, to kind of keep the simplest form, is basically the state is now saying that they will make the decision about the use of voting machines, not the county. And so that looks like it's going to become effective in April, which means we may have to do a separate MOU with the state. And some of that procedure is going to still be worked out. So it's nothing we have to do now, but I just want to make you aware that that may be coming up. And I believe, Ashley, if I'm speaking correctly, that the current MOU will not be signed until that's all sorted out.
Yes, that's correct. Nothing is going to be signed at this point.
So, but everybody's communicating, so that's a good thing. So Ashley's aware of it, Regina's aware of it, and people in the Maryland Municipal League are following it and also working with the city. So anything else anybody wants to bring up or share? No? Okay.
Oh, just as a point of discussion, it's my understanding that this is generally a positive. It is, there's some disruption in our plans in this, but it's generally a positive. Is that the perspective of the city as well?
This bill?
Yes.
I don't know. Ashley, can you speak to that?
Whether this legislation is going to be a positive, I think it's too early to tell how it's going to shake out, I guess, to be honest. There's just a lot of changes happening at the state level related to election laws, and so until they all kind of shake out, I don't know what the impacts will be, positive or negative, to be honest, at this point.
I think it's fair to say that these changes are not being directed at Annapolis.
No, yes, they're not specifically to us. It's a statewide, it's a statewide initiative that will affect every municipality and county in the state. I think it's disruptive to our current. It could be disruptive to our current election cycle, and I think the city of Annapolis, since we're off cycle, is one of the few that might be impacted so quickly. But it remains to be seen, I guess, for future elections how it will play out.
Sure. Yeah, it was my understanding that this is also an author. It is not a requirement, but it's an offer more so from the state, and was targeted towards jurisdictions that might have their county decline to help with the election and then be caught out in the cold. But I don't know, maybe I misinterpreted.
Right, or it may also address counties that have given out voting machines to municipalities when they really needed them to stay at the county.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I agree with Ashley. I think there's, a number of things going on. This may have to do with some changes in the administration at the Board of Elections too. But David Garris assured me that they're moving forward with everything, so they're not on pause or holding back on anything. And I think we're seeing that because they're beginning to send us things to review.
Yep.
So we'll have more information at our next meeting. So, all right. Well, the item you all have been waiting for, election of the chair from March 21st, 2025 to March 9th, 2026.
I nominate Eileen Leahy to continue to serve as chair of the Board of Supervisors of Elections for that year, 2025, March to March.
Second.
Oh, that was fast. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, well, thank you all for your trust. I was willing to pass it on if anybody wanted it.
I know you are. Liam,
But,
we'll save you. We'll cultivate you. We'll
But,
let you simmer a little bit.
Next
The
year.
next few months will be certainly a learning experience as we get closer, and it does get a bit more exciting as we get some more candidates and things like that. I'm looking forward also to Mitchell getting the word out and getting some information out to the public, and see if we can't get the turnout increase this year. We did it last time. Every year we've done it. Last time we rounded up to 40%. So we'll see if we can pass that. That would be great.
But that's
Any
typical.
other business? I'm sorry, what?
That's typical for a municipal election, so don't feel bad. It's
Okay,
Slow.
any other comments? Anything else?
No comments from me.
All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I have 8:11. All right, everybody, keep up the good work.
All right. Thanks, Teresa.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Eileen.
Ashley.
Good to see you, Liam.